Hey, Walter Sorrells back with more tips for the knife maker. Today, making a pin punch. So this is a factory-made pin punch. It's a little tool made for knocking pins out of machinery and so forth. Very simple tool. You can go down to Home Depot and buy them for a full set for $10 or something. So why would anybody want to make them themselves? Well, a couple reasons, and let me give you a little background on why I'm doing them personally. So most of you, or many of you who follow me, know that I've been working on my Tactics Armory lineup of knives this year. It's kind of a rolling prototyping kind of process. And, so basically I'm constantly trying new things. And most of these handles are held on with little locator pins. So putting locator pins in, trying something, knocking the pins out, and they're going in and out all the time. And as it happened, I've sort of been improvising all the things that I'm knocking the pins out with. So I was like, this is stupid. Went down to Lowe's, didn't have a set. Went to Home Depot, didn't have a set. Northern Tools out. So I didn't feel like driving around all over town, and I didn't feel like waiting 3 or 4 days for something to get sent to me off of eBay. So figured I'd make them myself. Why might you want to do it? Well, not only is there the rationale of I don't want to spend the $10 myself, or maybe my local store doesn't have them, but let's say that you're working on a European firearm and you want to knock out a metric size roll pin. Making the perfect size pin punch to knock that roll pin out will make life a lot easier. Conversely, maybe you live in a metric country and you want to make a set of imperial sizes. So all these are good reasons for doing it, or maybe even just because you like making stuff. That's really why I'm doing it, let's face it. So just one last quick note. One of my favorite things about making videos is being able to show ways that you could do it when you have almost no tools, your skill level's not super high, or some more sophisticated kinds of ways. So I'm going to show 3 or 4 different ways of doing this, some using nothing but hand tools and some using much more sophisticated tools. Basically if you need something super precise, you're going to need a little bit more precise tools, ideally. If you don't, maybe making them with hand tools will work out just fine. All right, let's jump right into it. Okay, so I'll make a bunch of punches today. Simple methods and complex, you'll see them all. For all these, I'll be starting with 3/8 inch round stock. You could go a little smaller, but this is what I had on hand. This is 01 steel, a common tool steel that's pretty easy to heat treat. Ideal for this project. But you could use any number of materials. W1 tool steel, 4140 steel, for some applications even mild steel, brass, plastics like Delrin might work great. But whatever material you use, you could shape them all the way we do here. I'll begin by cutting my stock to length. About 6 inches, but how long you make it depends on what you want it for. Deburr the ends. Then chuck it up in a battery-powered drill. And we grind away on a belt grinder. I'm running the drill in the opposite direction to the rotation of the belt, using a little oil on my fingers to make it run smoothly as I press it into the belt. Now you could just as easily do this on a bench grinder, maybe even a disc grinder. All kinds of different things would work. I'm a belt grinder guy, so I'm doing it this way. The key is to stay as close to dead parallel to the platen or the grinder wheel as you can. So the pressure here is all from my fingers, not the drill chuck. Better control, easier on the drill. By running the drill, I'm keeping the pin section nice and concentric, so I end up with a really clean shape to the pin. A couple of tests with the micrometer to make sure I'm grinding to the right diameter. If it's not even from one end to the other, I'll lightly adjust until it's fairly even. So when it's about where I want the diameter, I switch to a higher grit belt running up to whatever finish I feel like. In this case, I go to 400 grit, but you could go 600, whatever. A little extra work on the shoulder, and I'm done. Ready for heat treating. But more on that later. Alright, how about a super low-tech approach? If you want, you can do this 100% by hand. So I'll stick the stock in a vise, and I'll start whaling away with a bastard file. Now, by making sure that the lines formed at the edges of the flat I'm filing are parallel, I know I'm filing evenly from one end of the little punch section to the other. Just rotate 20 or 30 degrees every couple minutes, again trying to file as evenly and to the same depth each time as you can. Around and around. Once you start getting close to your target size, start cutting in more and more flats so that you eventually reach a shape that's almost round. Now you could go ahead and round it off here while it's in the vise, but the approach I'm going to use here will allow me to keep a very even amount of cutting on all surfaces. So I'll take it over to a nice flat piece of MDF and do like so. Just keep sliding it back and forth until you get a nice round shape. Might seem like a pain in the neck, but as I've said in many of my videos, you'd be amazed what you can do with a file if you really put your back into it. So maybe you want to kind of split the difference between this and the drill version. Try this. I made this little V block out of wood. Now I'll chuck up the punch, lay it in this channel here, and file away as I rotate the punch. Once I've got it basically to shape, I'm going to switch to a mill file, which will cut cleaner than the bastard file that we started with. Boom, done. Hey, let me take a quick moment here to jump in and thank you guys who have been supporting this channel on Patreon. For those of you who are not familiar with Patreon, Patreon is a way that you can help support channels like mine who do stuff that you think is cool. You know, you just wouldn't believe the hours that it takes to put these videos out. You know, it takes a lot of equipment. It costs me a lot of money, in short. And, you know, some of you guys have reached out to me and wanted to help out with the channel. Patreon is a great way to help out a channel like mine or other channels that you think are cool. So if you're interested, click on the link to Patreon and let's get back to work. Okay, let's say you want something a little more precise. Maybe you need to get an odd-sized roll pin out of something. With roll pins, you have to be pretty close to the right size. A too small pin will slide right through the center of the roll pin. Well, hey, let's go high precision. I'll chuck up the stock in the 3-jaw on my lathe, face it off, then start reducing the stock. Now I'm using a dial indicator taking off about 20 thousandths at a time until I get close to my goal. A couple thousandths under 0.250 inches in this case. Now I'll reposition the compound rest to 30 degrees and munch off that shoulder. So we've got the punches to shape, but they're not hardened yet. So let's do that. Now all steels are not hardenable, and even those that are hardenable don't all harden in the same way. So this is just applicable to 01, which is a very user-friendly kind of steel. We're going to use two methods. First, we're going to start with kind of the fancier approach just to let you know what you're aiming to accomplish. I'll use my heat treating oven to heat the punches to 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. Then, after the steel has equilibrated to the temperature of the oven and soaked for 5 minutes or so, I'll pull the punch out and immerse the tip, just the business end here, in the oil. After the color leaves the handle, I'll go ahead and cool that too. Now it's ready to be tempered. But first, most of you won't have a heat treating oven, so let's show a simpler method. Here I'm using an oxypropane rig, but oxyacetylene is fine too, of course. Hey, you could do this with a backyard barbecue. Any heat source capable of bringing the steel to a red heat will work. Now I'm going to bring it up to cherry red, making sure not to overheat it. I don't want to go bright orange. Bear in mind also that I'm in a fairly dark and controlled environment. In bright sunshine, this would barely look red at all. Anyway, inside we're just aiming for cherry red. Now I'll dunk it into warm peanut oil. Does it have to be peanut oil? No, but they taste better that way. Most any oil will work. So what you've done here is made the business end of the punch nice and hard, leaving the shaft softer and more resilient so you can hammer on it without danger of it chipping or cracking. Speaking of which, next comes tempering. This baby is still not ready for prime time just yet. Tempering is performed on hardened steel to decrease the frailty of the steel. See, at this point, you could shatter these suckers like glass if you hit them with a hammer. So, first I'm going to do a preliminary step, and this is purely for show. I'm using sandpaper to clean the oxides off that formed during heat treating, making it nice and shiny for reasons you'll see in a minute. I'm doing this on the lathe, but you could do it in the drill or you could do it by hand, anything to take those oxides off that formed during the quench. Okay, on to tempering. Again, I'll use my heat treating oven, heating it this time to 600 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have a heat treating oven or anything that will get you up to 600 degrees, that's not a problem. You can go 475 in your kitchen oven and that'll work just fine. The results will be a little more brittle, but unless you'll be beating your punch to death, it should hold up without any problem. But 600 will make it a little more resilient and less likely to crack. After an hour at temp, check this out. At 600, beautiful blue oxides form on the punches. These oxides aren't particularly durable, they'll wear off pretty quickly, but while they're here, they're really cool looking. So this was really a fun project to me. I don't know about you guys, but I found it very satisfying to end up with these nice little tools. You know, super simple but effective. That's the best kind of tool to me. Hey guys, if you found value in this video, I hope you'll consider partnering with the channel to help us bring more videos, better videos, more knives, more techniques, all that cool stuff. Click the link to Patreon to help this channel. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, bro, what are you waiting on? And check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Also, if you're into Japanese swords, check out my website, waltersorrellsblades.com, where you'll see more of my work and where you'll find videos about the making of Japanese swords, along with mounting, fittings, polishing, hamones, all kinds of good stuff. Now, more videos.